What is up, everybody? It's ZXRyuu, and today we're going to start a new series to kind of break up the Pokemon Let's Play. So what we're going to do today is I've always thought it would be kind of interesting to make a series of videos for all you Naruto fans that kind of stuck with us since the beginning when we started playing this game, that you guys would like to see maybe how to play characters at a higher level, you know, how to master characters, I guess. So CC and Fire and I have played this game a lot, and so we know a lot of the ins and outs, but I'm sure we don't know everything about the game. So, but anyway, we're going to do some of these videos to kind of show off how to play certain characters in the different Naruto games. So we're doing Clash of Ninja 3 for this one because this is, the one that I have, and kind of two, since I'll be showing how to play Itachi in this video, the version that we're going to play on kind of makes sense to play Itachi here. He's pretty stable. This game's really easy to get for the Wii right now. So it's a good starting place if you want to get into the Naruto games at all. So that's why I'm picking this one for some, you know, just kind of those reasons, I guess. So anyway, what we're going to do is I've got some handicap settings because before we start, CC and Fire and I kind of came up with this rule set actually because of Itachi for the most part. You know, and also just for the HP, we keep it at 175 just so the matches last a little longer. I mean, you can turn it up all the way to 300, or you can set it as low as 25. So we set the HP to 175 so that the rounds last about, you know, a good length. And then we also set the chakra recovery down to 75 because Itachi, when he gets going on all of these strings, gains chakra super, super fast. And it just, even at 100%, is like slightly unfair. So we lower the chakra to 75 to kind of rebalance him specifically. And also, there's a couple of other characters that makes sense to do as well. Deidara is one of them. So anyway, the chakra recovery down is simply to keep everybody a little bit more balanced as we play the matches. So anyway, the HP is 175 and the chakra recovery is 75. So we're going to do that. Where will you be fighting? And then it doesn't really matter, I guess, where we be fighting. So we're just going to pick a random stage. So this is training mode, so I figured this would be kind of the easiest way to show how things work in the game. It's time for you to come with me on a journey. Okay, so anyway, I'm just going to go over the basics and essentials of how most characters play, I guess, and then we'll get into the specifics of how to work around different things with the characters. So anyway, so the A button is usually a projectile. It's called Strong, and by the way, I'm using a GameCube controller for this. You can use the Wiimote and Nunchuck. I don't use it, C-San doesn't use it, but Fire does, just so because he can use some things with Deidara to make things a little bit more interesting. And he just got used to using the swing input for some of that. So anyway, because the swing input on the Wiimote actually gives you a slight advantage in some of the games. Not that that's why Fire uses it, but now at this point he's kind of used to doing it that way. So anyway, so the A button is strong. The B button is weak. And then anyway, if you tap up, you can jump. Down doesn't really do anything for movement, but it does do stuff for specials, and we'll get into that. If you double tap back, you'll do a backdash. If you double tap forward and hold it, you'll do a run. I know I can't really demonstrate that as well, but anyway, if you double tap back, then you double tap forward and hold it, you'll run. So anyway, there's that. And then if you tap up, you can jump. If you tap up at an angle, you can jump as well, kind of at an angle, so up angle, you know, like that. You can vary moves with, if you do like down B, that does like Itachi does a sweep, which will kind of put the enemy into crumple, which is them when they're flying and they can't really do a whole lot to get out of it. There's no guard animation or anything. You can do down A as well. I also have the guard turned off right now just for demonstration, but anyway, a lot of these attacks, we'll get into the more specifics of what gets through guards and what doesn't a little bit later on. So anyway, there's down B, there's back B, yeah, down B, back B, forward B. The up B is kind of hard to use because it wants to jump, so you almost have to like do like a smash almost, where you like smash up and B at the same time to do that. So, because if you do it too late, he'll just kind of jump, or any character will jump, and then they'll do their midair B move, which is, you know, whatever. So you can do A in the air, which does some kind of, I don't know, it depends on the character, but anyway, for Itachi, it does kind of 3 ravens with shuriken. You can do running attack. If you're running and then hit B, you can do that. If you're running and you press A, you can do that. The running A for Itachi gets you clear, you know, will warp you to the enemy. So if you are your opponent, I guess. And you can do it almost instantly. If you're in the running animation, you hit it. If you're in the running animation and you hit it, it'll do it. So anyway, same thing applies. You can do up A. You can do back A, which is a teleport. You can do down A. Let's see here. If you do, if you're being hit, you can use L and R to substitute. But if you're not being hit and you don't have 75% chakra, if you press L and R, it does kind of like a sidestep type thing. So if you press R, you'll sidestep to the right. If you press L, you'll sidestep to the left. C-stick is for reflecting kunai, so you can flick the C-stick. I think it's up, but I think you can flick it in any direction, and it'll reflect kunai. So we can kind of get into that a little bit later. I think you can turn the CPU into attack mode at some point. So the way this game works, too, is the game is on an axis. So you will always try to be facing toward each other. If you're facing a different opponent that's on a different axis, you'll be kind of like aimed toward them. And the axis flips the direction of what things are. So if you're flipped around, the direction will be flipped around too. So if you haven't played this game before, it's kind of weird. It's kind of hard to get used to right at first. So you usually want to be facing like sideways as much as possible rather than this way toward the camera, because if you face this way, it has the tendency to freak out on what's left and what's right, or it switches back and forth. So it's better to be facing towards your opponent going this way rather than any other way. For swag, you can dash dance in this game. Just hit left and right, back and forth really quickly, so you can dash dance. Let's see. I don't think the D-pad does anything. At least I've never used it. Well, I guess you can use the D-pad for movement. Huh, didn't know that. So I always just use the analog. But I guess you can use the D-pad for that. So let's see here. Y is grab. You can grab on the ground. You can also grab in the air. But they have to be jumping in order for you to grab them out of the air. X is special. So if you just use special normally,
you can't escape.
Does this special, the Nightmare Realm special? On the Wiimote, it would have some motions for you to do. And in Naruto GNTSP, those motions were added to the GameCube controller also, so you can get plus or minus minuscule damage if you get the inputs correct or not. But for this game, the Wiimote has that kind of advantage. So, but unfortunately, that's not, the GameCube one isn't in this game. So you have to play GNTSP if you want that. So you can, anyway, so there's normal special, there's back special, which is usually a transformation. Like if for Kakashi, he uses his like Sharingan activates, or Hinata uses her awakening mode. So usually back X is some kind of transformation jutsu. But in the case of Itachi, his back X is a counter special. So if he does that and then you hit him, you'll set off the counter. So if you do down special, that's another type of special. So it's in this case, it's a giant fireball. You can hold it. If you do down X and hold it, when you're in critical mode, it'll sit out in front of you. And what critical mode is when you have almost no hit points, and your meter is, or your life bar is red. You're in critical mode and you can do some different things. I think that one's in this game, but that may actually just be GNTSP if I remember correctly. So anyway, we'll get to that here in a minute as well. And there's some settings we can change and stuff. So anyway, so there's normal, neutral, special. There's back special, and then there's down special. There's also mid-air special as well. So if you're jumping and hit the X button, you can do another type of special. So for Itachi, it's a fireball in the air. Most specials take 75% chakra, but usually the gauge has to be full. Oh, sorry, no. Normal specials take 100% of your chakra, and the gauge has to be full in order for you to use it. Mid-air specials take 75% of your chakra, and I think counter specials take 75, and also the down only takes 75 as well. So chakra management in this game is really important because in GNT SP you have the option of a substitute meter that fills up, and then you can use your substitute and it doesn't take away from your chakra or your special meter. But in this game, the substitute and the specials both rely on the same meter, so you got to be careful how much you're using specials if you want to get out of certain combo attacks or whatever with LNR. If you're being hit, you need 75% chakra to use a substitute, and you can use that whenever the meter gets up to that point. So, so that's that for that kind of stuff. So anyway, so let's start on some basic combos with Itachi, I guess. So the guard is set to off right now, just so I can kind of demonstrate some gamuts of things that you can use. So anyway, the kind of the default one that if you're just mashing B, you'll end up with this combo. So there's that. That's 6 attacks. So if you're just mashing B, you'll get that. Rock Lee is kind of one of the few characters where you can mash A to get some attacks, but with Itachi, if you hit A, you know, repeatedly, he's just going to throw kunai repeatedly. You can press and hold A, and you'll throw more kunai. So anyway, there's that on the ground. So anyway, yeah, if you're just mashing B or just mashing A, that's what you're going to end up with. Now you can press A at different points during the combo to change up the combo a little bit. So if we do A on the 6th one, he'll kind of warp behind them and do a stab like that, and you'll be behind him, and then you can do something else. You can't do any additional A moves until after the 3rd hit of B. So you have to be pressing B at least 3 times before you can start using A moves. So anyway, the 5th one is kind of like a slash, and he'll stop. But then you can go back to doing B as well. So you can kind of interchange A and B at different points during the length of your combo to put more things in. So you can do, you know, the kick. So that one just stops you. If you try and do B after the 4th hit like that, it'll just stop. So you'll just get a slash, and you can't go back to doing any B moves. But if you're doing A off of the 3rd hit, you do A again for your 5th, and you'll end up with that double strike like that. So let's see here. So you've seen the... so anyway, if you do... You'll warp behind them. If you do AA, you know, if you do 4 weak hits and then 2 strong hits, you'll end up behind them. At which point, it kind of makes sense if you're behind them. If they haven't automatically turned around, you should do like something like up A, because the clone has this weird thing in it where if the opponent is turned around for any reason, if they're backwards, the clone will always hit them. It doesn't matter what is going on. They'll always get hit. So that kind of, in a sense, makes Itachi cheat because he has some way to get past guards automatically. If you can get behind them and they don't turn around fast enough, you can kind of exploit that. So we'll do that in some of the combos a little bit later on. But then if you're doing B all the way through, you get that. Okay, so now for down B, if you do down, let's see here, what do we got here? So you'll end up with that combo because down B starts this string where you can do that. you can't adjust like the, you can't do like down B and then back B or forward B or whatever. It just ends up being neutral after the first hit. But you can change that up as well. So you can start adding strong hits into that. So, yeah, so anyway, that if you do like down and then A, it does kind of a kick in midair, but you can't really, yeah, and then you can rush if you do that. So weak, strong, weak. So again, alternating between A and B. So I'm just kind of throwing out some examples of different moves that you can do in here. You can kind of go back and watch the video to see what each of them do. So anyway, you can do... So anyway, you can kind of vary up with down a little bit. It doesn't give you as many hits, but you can vary it up and do some of the things like you get from your normal combo. For back B is usually just one strong hit, and it'll just kind of kick the enemy away really far. So it's a good zoning technique to kind of get some space in between you and your opponent. So if you need them out of your face, you can just kind of kick them back. Even if they're guarding, it'll push them back a ways, so you can use that to your advantage. But back B is usually one strong hit. The thing with Itachi that's kind of weird that doesn't apply to a lot of other characters is that Itachi's back B has like a huge amount of super armor frames. And what I mean by super armor is they won't be interrupted by what they're doing. So it is possible for Itachi when he's doing his back B to be being hit by certain specials or certain strong attacks and him not flinch. So it's not a bug in the game or anything. It's just his back B's got some weird properties to it. So if you're in trouble and you're being hit, you can use back B to kind of, or if you see something coming, use back B, and sometimes it'll stop you from being interrupted or taking unnecessary damage. So there's that option. Up B is just kind of a lead-in to something else. So you can do up B, then you can do your neutral combo. That was slow. So you can do that and then variate off of that. So, if you kick them in the air and then you... oops. So, I mean, you can do things off of that that are kind of interesting. We'll talk about something called combo canceling here in a minute, where you can go absolutely ballistic and switch things up because the combo canceling is a nutcase thing in the engine that you can do. So anyway, so up B just kind of launches them, and then you can go into a normal type of combo if you want to do that. Let's see here. So A moves. So again, we have down A. You can lead that into a weak attack. So if you do down A to B, you'll kick them away. You can't do like down A to back B or forward B or whatever. It just turns neutral. Anything that's off of down or back or any of the directions just turns into neutral when you switch your buttons. Okay, so let's see here. So down. So if you do down A and then A again, you'll warp. So then you can either throw kunai, or you can do something like that, where you just use his up A to hit behind him where their guard isn't available. So you can do that. If you're behind them, you can do forward A to do that. If you want to be in front of them for some reason, what was I trying to do? Let's see. Oh, I remember what I was trying to do. Okay. There's a way you can do, yeah, if you do forward A to B, you'll kind of warp to him and spin, which is the same as just his air B move. So you can do that. There's no way to do forward strong and then B. If you do forward strong or forward A, then B, you can't do that. That doesn't work. It'll just stop you. But you can do forward A and then A twice more, and you'll do that combo. Let's see here. The way this... so I guess let's talk about combo canceling next. Combo canceling is ridiculous. It takes a lot of chakra, but you can do some pretty insane things with it. So anytime anybody's in crumple, you can start doing combo canceling. And the way combo canceling works is I think you can only use it when somebody's in the air, like flying in the air or in crumple or this kind of thing. So the way that I usually start any kind of combo canceling with Itachi is I will do down B, B, then Y to cancel it. So that flash, it's kind of hard to see with the chakra recovery on. Let's turn the chakra recovery off. So that flash where they kind of reset their stance is a combo cancel. And you see it takes 25% chakra to do this every time you do it. But you can, it'll stop you and get you out of any move. The thing that makes this really interesting, though, is you can string a bunch of moves together this way. So if you do... you can start stringing sets of 3 together. And there's different ways to get into it, too. Some of them are a little bit more reliable than others. But anyway, yeah, you can get some really long combos out of that. And what happens, too, is after you use the combo cancel, you can still build up chakra with the other moves that you're hitting with. So, because every attack builds up your chakra by, I don't know, maybe 5%. Okay, I guess more like about 7.5%, I guess. So 7.5% per hit. So that means that if you're doing strings of 4, you can get another bar and you can use it again. So you can kind of, if your chakra is really full, you can just kind of keep doing this. But if your chakra is lower and you start using it, you can still build up and keep using it a little bit longer, even if your chakra is not completely full. So, so that's kind of an interesting thing that you can do. You have to be pretty precise with how you do it too, because it's kind of like, you know, like kind of like that rhythm where you like punch, punch, cancel, punch, punch, cancel. You know, so you kind of get into this rhythm where you do it. So, and once you're out of chakra, it won't work anymore. So, so anyway, the combo canceling is ridiculous, and it's just, I don't know, it's just like one of the most insane things in this game if you can master it. There's some weird ones you can do for canceling, because anytime they're in the air, you can cancel. So you can cancel things like this. You can cancel that. It's not really super helpful, though. The only thing that I've really found that's helpful to do out of that, if you can manage to pull it off in the first place, is to do up A, because it'll hit them on the way down. If you're really, see, that was too early. So, I mean, there is a rhythm to it. You can't just, like, mash it. Because sometimes it'll turn into the air attack, too, which is not good. You want the up A with the clone to, and you don't want the grab either. Yeah, so there's a double hit. But the problem is Itachi's facing the wrong way when you do that. So you got to be able to turn around, know what axis you're on, and turn around quickly after you're done so your opponent doesn't hit you out of The easiest way I found to start a combo cancel is that last one where it's on the 6th hit here is really hard to time, and it's not super useful. So the easiest way to get into combo canceling with any kind of rhythm is to do down B to get him in the air. Then you do punch, and that starts him kind of hovering in the air, and then you can do so anyway, so you cancel the 2nd hit. Oops, my chakra is not set right. Let's turn that back on. So anyway, yeah, you can do down B, B. You can do it on the 3rd hit, but it's not as reliable, but you can do it on the 2nd hit. And it takes some timing, too. I mean, you got to be able to move from B to Y pretty quickly. And for the Wiimote, the canceling is on the C trigger. So you're using the down on the D-pad to attack with like what's essentially B on the Wiimote, and then you use C to cancel. So you're switching, instead of using your same hand to kind of like jump around on the controller a little bit, you're using a different finger on the Wiimote, so it makes it a little bit harder to time your canceling, I find. So I just find the GameCube controller to be overall a little bit easier to use, even though you don't get the bonuses from the specials. So, and in any kind of like tournament play also, you're going to want to have something that's like that anyway, you know, with the GameCube controller, a little bit more consistent and just a little bit more, I don't know. I just find it to be easier, I guess. So I would just suggest you do that. Now, I'm not against you using the Wiimote. You know, if you want to, that's great. Fire uses it, and maybe during this series I'll have him show how he uses the Wiimote to play Deidara, because it's pretty nuts. But anyway, so we can do, and you got to start it up immediately. I mean, it does take some concentration to get into it and do it. So it's. But yeah, I mean, you can get some really long strings going with that. Because see, if you do it on the 3rd hit, they're a little bit too high, and so you can't get back into the rhythm very easily. So, I mean, you can just keep hitting them until they hit the ground. And that same method works with Hinata also. I'm trying to think what it is. I think it's her forward B. I think it's her forward B that kind of launches him in the air, and then you can do that same thing. So it's kind of like Itachi doing that with his up B. So. Ah, messed it up. Yeah, so but anyway, you can kind of cancel that into any other string as well, and it does pretty significant damage. Okay, so that's how combo canceling works. You hit Y, and it's on some kind of, you know, it's on timing, you know, really to get it right. Some of the hardest ones to time are like Shino's got one on his back B that you can cancel out of that is really hard to time. Itachi's got it too. If you do back B, and then as soon as you hear it hit, if you press Y, it'll cancel, and then you can do something else. But the problem is, since they're already pretty much on the ground, that doesn't help you except in Naruto Gekito Ninja Taisen EX3, where on the ground damage is busted, where you can pretty much do hits over and over and over while they're on the ground. Whereas in this game, they changed that, so you can't do that. So it's really, really hard to do any kind of attack while they're on the ground, because, see, that'll only gain you one hit. So if you throw your kunai, that's another hit. But it doesn't really gain you anything to just do normal B either. So that one's pretty limited to cancel, but you can do it. One thing that you might want to do is like hit it, cancel, jump, and do special, but it takes a whole meter, and that one probably only works in Gekito Ninja Taisen EX3. just because of how it works. But if you're fast enough, you might be able to get that to work. See, that works if you cancel it and you go back. Yeah, see, that special doesn't work, but if you can do the down special and it does work. I'm not sure if that works with a chakra recovery on. Just a minute. Before I start saying stuff that you can't actually do. Yeah, that'll take your whole meter, but you can use it. So that's kind of an interesting thing. It's really hard to hit people with specials in this game. Usually the way that you kind of, at least the way that I first learned how to use specials, is you can tap the B button twice and then hit X. And it'll usually give you a special if they're not guarding. If they're guarding, it won't do anything. It'll just bounce off the guard. So anyway, just weak, and then special will usually go into that. I'm trying to think what else we can do for potentially... Because you can't, if you're in the middle of an animation, you can't like jump cancel or anything. Let's see. See, again, on the ground damage doesn't work here, so that makes that harder to do. So maybe you can get that one to work if your timing's better than mine. I'm trying to think. Itachi's back A has some utility because it'll get you behind them, and sometimes the axis won't immediately flip them around to guard. So you can kind of you can get behind them and just like start mashing B. So and it's always good to be facing your opponent. Like every time you get turned the wrong way, you got to get in the mindset of turning right back around. So let's see. So like that, you need to immediately snap to the other way before they get up, or else they'll be hitting you from the backside, because the getting hit from behind is always going to go through your guard. But if your guard is on, then it doesn't work the same way. So let's talk about now you know how the moveset works with the guard off. Let's turn the guard on so that we can start kind of working around how to get around people that are guarding and what you can do in certain situations to get around the guard. Yes, I know. So anyway, you can kind of change if you want like the computer attacking you during training, or if you want player 2 to control it, or if you want them to just stand there. So anyway. Let's talk about how the guard works. Okay, so let's get in front of him. So guarding. So if you're standing still in this game, if you're standing still and doing nothing, you'll guard. So I don't know if you can see it or not, but the guard kind of changes color. It goes from blue to yellow to red to broken. And those, you can't really see this in the multiplayer, but only in the singles and in the single player mode. There's 5 dots up above the character's hit points, and those will slowly start going away if they're getting hit more and more and more. And if it reaches 0, it breaks your guard and takes all of your chakra away. So that's what's bad about the guard crushing, is that it'll take all your chakra away. So anyway, there's 2. And it kind of depends on where you are in the string to depend on how many bars or how many blocks it'll take away. So with a full guard, so 3 attacks from full shield will take 1 away. But if you keep going and keep pressuring them, it keeps going down. The number of hits that you need to break their shield keeps going down. So the first one's 3. The second one is 2, and then the last one is 3, or the last one is 1. So if you kind of get a 6-hit string, you'll take away about half of their guard. Now, if you can follow this up and keep hitting them, you can break their guard and then keep going. But as soon as they touch the ground, their guard recovers. So you can kind of beat through their guard and then do other things like specials or kind of whatever. If you can beat through their guard enough. So anyway, you can kind of chain into different specials.
You can't win. Out of my sight, you fool.
So yeah, and different things do different amounts to the guard. But again, if you're behind them in any capacity and you hit them in the back, the shield won't work. So this is kind of what makes Itachi cheap, because there's things that you can do to kind of get around the guard. So the back A or the up A will bounce off the guard here, but if you're behind them, let's see, I'm trying to remember how this works. There's ways, oh yeah, if they're facing you and you're facing this way, you can hit them. But if you're facing this way, it won't work. So if you can, it'd be easier if there was like an auto turnaround, but anyway. So anyway, if, depending on where they are facing and how they're facing depends on how you can get around the guard. So it's kind of an advanced thing to figure out how this works. But anyway, if you can figure out how to get back behind their shield with either like that or if they're facing you and you're not facing them, then there's a way I could kind of like turn myself around. But anyway, yeah, but anyway, so the clone will go through shields if you're facing if they're facing a certain way and you're facing a certain way. So if they're facing you this way and you're facing going the other way with your back to them, the up A will go around their shield. So it's pretty cheap to do. Now for Itachi with his back A, the reason why it takes chakra is because it'll put you behind them and then you can start attacking behind their shield. So that's kind of the way that you can put yourself in a position where they're facing you, but you're kind of like this, then you can hit their shield or hit them with a clone from behind. So it's really cheap. So a lot of things just front-facing will bounce off the shield. So, you know, it's up to you to kind of keep on the pressure. Figure out how to warp behind them, because you can use certain combos to kind of get behind them. Like that, like the down A. Down A and then A will put you behind them. So that'll go through their guard. Because even if you bounce off their shield, you can still get behind them and then do something else. Let's see. I'm not sure if I talked about that one with the combo canceling, actually. So that, yeah, see, there's another way to get into the combo cancel with Itachi also. If you're running and they're in the air, you can do that same thing where you put them into. Yeah, so I mean, you can start going kind of nuts with how you're doing combos and getting behind people and. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of variation and comboing you can do here to get behind them and stuff. Also in the training mode, just as a place to start, there's an attack list that you can do. So you can kind of see what things are in here. Let's see here. So let's turn the guard back off. So I mean, you can kind of practice a lot of the things in the in the attack list, and it'll give you some good places to start. Yeah, so all the down, all the forward, all the up.
Out of my sight.
You can also use Itachi's forward A as a zone technique to kind of push them away from you. Like if they're getting too close to you, you can kind of use the clone to push them back, either whether they're guarding or not. So it's a good way if they're too close to you to kind of push them back. Let's see. Which one is that? Oops. Keep hitting it too. Yeah, so again, you can use the clone to kind of push them back to zone them a little bit. Yeah, so there's a lot of different... There's 19 different things that you can do just by default. But once you put the combo canceling in there, you can start stacking up all of those different types of combos together, and you can get some really long, really long strings. Yeah, so but some of this stuff doesn't apply, you know, in GNT EX3 you can go even more nuts because you can do so much on the ground damage. But that's why I started with this one, because EX3 is kind of a special case. And GNT SP has a couple of extra specials and moves that you can do instead. But this is usually a good place to get started if you want to try and play Itachi. So let's see here. The only other things to talk about are there's like counter hits and latent ninja powers. So the latent ninja powers, the bar will be glowing. So if I turn it back off, see how the bar is blue, and then if I turn it on, the bar is orange and it's flashing. So that means that there's some special effect. Usually it means that either they have like more super armor, they do more damage, they take less damage, they can do other certain things. I think Itachi in this mode, I'm trying to remember if he can hold it. Thought for some reason you could, maybe that's in GNT SP, I guess, where you can hold the fireball.
Out of my sight.
But anyway, Itachi's latent ninja power is in this game is that his back A doesn't take any chakra when he's in this mode, so you can just spam it. And it's really easy to get behind people at that point because you're not using chakra to warp. So you can just get around really easily. So, and each character is different on their latent ninja powers. I'm trying to remember what the counter hit does. Since there's no descriptions, I don't remember exactly what this does. But anyway, I can't remember. I guess I'll have to look that up for the next one. But anyway, so yeah, latent ninja powers are, your health has to be in the red usually. So if I take the chakra recovery off and then leave the latent ninja powers on, or actually, let's see if I turn the ninja powers off. Once Naruto gets down to low health, the bar will change from blue to orange, and then you can do kind of whatever special effect.
You fool.
Whittle him down a little. Yeah, so anyway, now it comes on when you're at about 25% health, maybe a little bit less, maybe 20% health. That's usually when the thing comes up, and they'll either be glowing or, like in Itachi's case, he'll have like feathers floating around him.
Out of my sight.
So that's how you know that happens.
Fire style. Fireball jutsu. Fire style. Fireball jutsu. It's over.
So anyway, but yeah, that's pretty much everything there is to how to play Itachi, I believe. I don't think there's anything else that... I think there's really anything else that I need to talk about. I'll look at that counter hit and try and figure out what that is for next time. I can't remember, but anyway, so yeah, there's lots of variation with Itachi. You know, he's just so strong that he can usually just beat down your guard a lot of times to get around different things, so. Yeah, so but anyway, I think I may have actually said this wrong in the beginning, but if the guard's on, the sweep doesn't immediately go through the guard. But any type of movement from the opponent, when they're moving around or anything, that's free game. They can just get hit. So you really got to be careful on when you're pressing buttons and when you're not pressing buttons, because it will determine whether or not your guard is there. So, but anyway, yeah, just working on beating down guards is good, because then that way you can kind of get through. But if you're wanting to just practice, moves without having the guard in the way, then you can just turn it off. Yeah, so there's some pretty stupid things you can do. Huh, is that an infinite loop that you can do? Let's see here. Huh. Okay, it doesn't work out of that. Yeah, but if you can get I think if you can get the timing, I think you could probably do that 2 or 3 times. So anyway, I mean, there's things like that where you can... Actually, that combo I just now learned. I didn't know you could do that. Learning new things as we're talking. So anyway, that's pretty much the extent of how you use Itachi. So go back to the main menu. So anyway, so we'll back out and we'll switch characters, and we'll do another one of these. So see you guys in a few minutes.